There is a lot of talk right now and going on about what is happening in Washington, D.C. with Elon Musk and DOGE. Joining me tonight live is Eastern Oklahoma Republican Congressman Josh Brecheen to talk about all things we've been showing you, not just here on the news, but what you've been seeing on social media as well. Congressman, thank you for joining me tonight.
Thank you, Rick.
I want to talk real quick about the big, beautiful bill. You just took a vote on it. What are your feelings being the budget and deficit guy that you are?
Well, I actually, along with several people on the Budget Committee, special thanks to Jody Arrington, the chair of the Budget Committee, we were crafting that thing hours before the Budget Committee voted it unanimously out of committee. There was a group of 4 or 5 of us that sent the signal to the Speaker. We had some concerns because we felt like the side where we would adjust for savings to be able to accomplish a lot of the things that we wanted to accomplish in terms of continuation of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, but also some of the things that the president's been asking for, the no tax on tips, et cetera, that we wanted to make sure that deficit neutrality was going to be something that wouldn't be easily wiggled out of. And so we were on Thursday night, crafting that before the Friday vote. So I was, playing a key role. I want to thank Paul Winfrey and Chip Roy specifically from Texas. We took a playbook out of something that was employed in 2001, hadn't been used in over 2 decades, to where we have adjustment controls. So as the savings, where we can find efficiencies, as that increases, then the ability for the Ways and Means side for them to be able to do the things that many people want, that can be accomplished. And I think it's important. There's a Harvard poll that came out. I think it's important to note the where it came from. That actually says that when people are asked, do you want to see government efficiencies before your taxes are raised, by 83%, the respondents said, absolutely, that's what we want to happen. And so that's what this budget is designed to do. If we don't continue the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, the average family of 4 will have about a $1,700 tax increase. Think about the child tax credits, the standard deduction, et cetera. And so these efficiencies are designed to make sure that people can keep more of their hard-earned money, but in regards to the deficits, we stop the devaluation of the currency. We've got to do something about these $2 trillion deficits.
Before I get to Elon Musk, I did want to ask you, the Senate has said that the House's version of the bill is unacceptable or dead on arrival. Things like that have been used. Are you okay with some of the things the Senate has proposed or what they've passed?
Look, I'll let the Senate speak for themselves. The House, when you talk about revenue, which revenue-raising measures, they, by constitutional mandate, have to originate in the House. And the Senate, with their 6-year terms, House with their 2-year terms, it was designed by our founders to make sure that the House is much more responsive to the will of the people. We've got a 1-vote majority right now. We could lose 1 vote last night. And so it's going to be a much tougher sell on the House side. I do think for Senate leadership that it is a dangerous game to play, to be saying that this thing would be dead on arrival, because being able to get, as our Speaker likes to say, very small margin, many personalities he's having to deal with, when we can get all on the same page and the Senate has much more votes to spare, I think it would be very wise for the House and the product that we can maneuver and pass, for that to be the play. President Trump is going out publicly talking about the one big beautiful bill. He's talking about this bill that came out of the Budget Committee, and it's because it has all the elements that Trump was asking for. And we do it in a responsible manner. Again, that's what some of us, grateful to Jody Arrington, the Speaker, worked many weeks on in the Budget Committee, putting together a framework that we think is very responsible and we think is the best version.
Let me ask you about Elon Musk. Even though people agree on, cutting government waste, I'm wondering, I looked at the cabinet meeting today, and I'm wondering, when do the cabinet secretaries get to have a say in their agencies? Does Elon Musk have too much power over a Pete Hegseth or someone like that who is now in place to run their own agency?
So keep in mind what the Constitution discusses. In Article 2 of the Constitution, it actually says that all executive authority will be vested in the president, right? And so the cabinet is designed just like this setup of this DOGE commission. It's to execute upon the will, the day-to-day operations of the person that was elected president of the United States. And the president has relayed, keep in mind what DOGE derived from, this very office was converted from something President Obama did when he created healthcare.gov with his legislation that he pushed through. He created the Digital Services Administration to use tech savvy to be able to launch the healthcare.gov and iron out the kinks that were found. President Trump has taken that President Obama utilized and is using the same type of technology savvy individuals, but with a different ideology to go after a lack of government efficiency. President Clinton in 1993, by an executive order, and that executive order is actually, it's odd that I know this, but it's 12389. He started under again, a Democrat president, Clinton in 93. He started the process, what led to 100,000 federal employment changes, 100,000 people that were reduced off the federal rolls of federal employment by Clinton, because Clinton was striving to, as he called it, an aim for government efficiency. And so this is what we're seeing now. Definitely hasn't been really utilized in the last 10 to 15 years. But Clinton is to be credited for trying to make sure that we had a efficient federal workforce. And so many of us that know a $2 trillion deficit is leading us to a place where we either will have an economic collapse or we will have hyperinflation. I think that's why the polls are showing the American people are saying, yes, it's going to be painful in the short run, but for the long-term health of this country and to stop the devaluation of the currency that everybody watching this program has experienced since January 2020, you've lost 20% of your purchasing power because of Congress's overspend. Keep in mind that all federal budgets are actually balanced. You say, what do you mean? All federal budgets are actually balanced. Either you're getting taxed for what's being spent, borrowed on your future and your kids' future, or they are, Congress, inflated in a way by their deficit spending, by printing at the Federal Reserve, Treasury involved, and you are seeing the inflation tax. It's hidden. It's hard to work this thing out mentally, but that's what we're going after to stop this. And so I think that's why the polls are showing the American people are excited about this. They're figuring this still out.
What do you say to Oklahomans? There was some concern about Tinker Air Force Base this week. What do you say to Oklahomans who are like, I voted for Trump, but I didn't want to lose my job, or I voted for Trump and I didn't want to lose my health care? There are some people who are concerned that their way of life is going to dramatically change because of what may or may not be cut. Obviously, this is all still playing out.
Right. I mean, look, keep in mind, there's a lot of fear that's being tossed around right now. I've been on the phone today. We've got some, even in the 2nd Congressional District, I've got, a base that provides 1/3 of all munitions at any time is stored at McAllister Ammunition Plant. Some things that are being discussed are very speculative at this point. People are bracing. We don't know what's going to happen. And so what everyone has to focus on is what is in the long-term best interest of our nation. Oklahoma cannot be healthy if America's not healthy. And because I have an ag background, and some that have an ag background will kind of understand this, there's only so many bottle calves you can put on a dairy cow when you have orphan calves and you're trying to be able to make sure that they have a fighting chance. There comes a point when a certain number of calves cannot be added. And that is the situation where we as a nation have had too many people taking more and more and more without the regard of what it's doing to the long-term health. And so, again, Oklahoma cannot be healthy if our country is not healthy. For people that run on the premise of, I'm going to bring home the dollars back to Oklahoma, then that has led us to a $36 trillion gross national debt, and hyperinflation can be our future. We cannot escape this debt and deficit loading. We're going to have to be efficient. And governing is pretty easy. If you think however much government that you want has to be however much government you're willing to pay for. The problem is on the federal level, we print money and we hyperinflate our currency. And that's been the cop-out. And the responsible thing that members of Congress had to be focusing on is how do we change that? And we change it by living within our means.
Congressman, thank you so much. I'm out of time. We'll be watching and we will remain in touch. Thank you so much.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.